Hello, I'm Kathleen, and today I'm going to share with you a really easy, total beginner, intuitive watercolor autumn leaf painting. I'm also going to talk about why intuitive art making is so good for us, particularly as we age. Intuitive art making can enhance your well-being and also add to your creative practice. For this project, I'm going to be using watercolor paint, fall leaves that I'm going to use to stamp onto my watercolor painting. I'm also going to use ink, wax pastel, and gold paint for the details. I'm starting by painting all over my background with a very light red watercolor paint that has a lot of water in. Playing with the color, dabbing it around, coming up with some different patterns and some texture. And I'm using an intuitive process to create my background. The intuitive art, you are just creating something very spontaneous. You're listening to your intuition. Intuitive art is more about the process and not worrying about the end result. Now that my background is dry, I have some artificial fall leaves because I live in South Florida, don't have any fall leaves here. But if you have some real autumn leaves, you can use those. And I'm painting the back of my leaf. I'm going to get a very light impression when I press it onto my paper. So as you can see, it's not real intense. It's not really defined. It's almost abstract. I just want the very slight impression of a fall leaf. And I did that 2 times with my leaf. And now what I'm doing is I'm just doing a portion of the back of the leaf because I don't want the entire leaf impression. And I'm going to do this a couple of times on the background just to give a little bit of texture and interest. So once I let that dry, then I take my leaf and I'm going to trace around it with a waterproof marker. This is a fine tip felt pen. And I'm just really loosely tracing around the outer edges, not being very particular, not worrying if my lines are squiggly. I'm just being quick and just using that leaf as a guideline. So why is intuitive art good for us as we age? I'm an older artist and I love doing intuitive art because it really helps me relax and it's very good for my mental health. I'm also a teacher and I work with aging adults at a senior living community. And I like doing intuitive art with my older students because it really helps them create something that's simple to do, but yet they can feel very accomplished when they're done. I decided I wanted to make it even more squiggly, so I just added another line the whole way around, and then I used some of those original lines that I stamped in the veins of the leaf as a guide and added more ink marks. The other reason why I like using this project with my senior adults is because as we age, we definitely have some changes. Our fine motor skills, maybe they have arthritis and they have a hard time or getting very fine details. So by deliberately creating something that's going to look squiggly or messy or more expressive, it increases their confidence and helps them to create something that they can be proud of. So again, I'm just going over my lines with my fine tip marker, being deliberately squiggly and uneven. I'm adding the stem and I'm adding the veins over the original lines that were stamped from my leaf. And now I'm going to do my favorite part, which is adding additional colors to my leaves using my watercolor paint with a brush. And this is a point where I feel like you really can start to play even more. Intuitive art is meant to be a very mindful and relaxing activity. So a lot of times when I'm doing something like this, I'll put on some classical music. I love classical music, but you can put on any kind of music that you want. And, just kind of let go and just enjoy the colors and the materials and the flow of the paint. And it's really almost a meditative type of process. I'm just adding some orange and I'm mixing the colors together too, which is also very therapeutic. It's a very repetitive process and it just releases your mind and helps you to relax. And this type of painting project is also really great for my senior adults because as we age, not only do we have physical changes, but we also have emotional changes, cognitive changes. A meditative type of project like this, it can really help with anxiety, it can help with depression. It can help improve your mood, it can improve your cognitive abilities, and it's just really good for your mental health. What I'm doing now is I'm actually just adding a little bit to my background. I wanted to have it look a little bit more interesting and have a little more depth, so I'm adding more of a neutral color around the edges to the background of my painting, and I added a little bit of green, I added a little bit of brown. I'm adding some gold, and if you don't have gold, that's okay. And I'm taking some red paint and I'm doing a spattering technique all over my page. And I'm just taking some red paint that has quite a bit of water in it, and I'm tapping my brush on top of another brush, and this is creating a spatter and just add some texture. I'm also using a crayon. This is optional. This is called a wax pastel, but if you don't have a wax pastel, you can use regular Crayola crayon. And I'm just adding some more squiggly lines to my leaves. I like to do mixed media. I like to play with different materials, and I'm also taking my ink pen and I'm just drawing some squiggly lines around the outside of my painting. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you'll try it for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.